Hello, welcome to the Food and Cosplay podcast where Eddie talks. Yes, that's right, that Eddie. But I just want to inform you that we're about to listen to some views and comments from the hosts and guests that may not reflect everybody's opinions. So keep it nice, all right? We want a nice open conversation. And at this point, usually Eddie plays that banter section, but remember, you can always listen to other podcasts. But because you're here, you're going to have to listen to the banter.
So you've just come back from the airport? Did I read that correctly when we were just corresponding?
No, that was last week.
Oh, last. Where were you last week?
So I was in Italy. I was a guest at a Comic-Con there.
Oh!
Rimini Comics.
Oh God, look at you jet setting around the world.
I know.
There I am, sad at home, sitting here waiting for the next podcast record to do. Lonely in my own bedroom. Oh my God! But no, it's pretty hot out there at the moment, isn't it?
It was horrible. It was 37 degrees while we were there. I know.
Can't deal with that. I hate the heat. Like this boring British weather we're having when it's just raining every day. Loving it, absolutely loving it.
I was really looking forward to coming back. Like you don't know how. Like I've never been happier to be back in the UK. Honestly.
Hello everybody, this is the Talk About Podcast, a weekly podcast about cosplay, Comic-Con, and everything else. I'm your host Eddie, and this week joining us on the podcast is Shirak Cosplay, because we are talking about prosthetics! Woo! So BB, isn't it? I need to call you BB on this podcast, don't I?
Yeah, that's fine. Hello.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. First time on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. I hope you're enjoying yourself so far.
Yeah. No, all good. I'm really super excited. I'm very looking forward to our conversation and things. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Exactly. No, it's, I saw, so basically, I saw BB Shirak Cosplay at MTM London, and she had a stall there. She had she was doing presentations about prosthetics, and I thought, why am I not taking this opportunity to say, hey, let's do a podcast about it. Let's talk about prosthetic. And BB's gone, yeah, absolutely. And you're devoting some of your time, some of your knowledge about prosthetics for us, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, no, I'm always happy to. I'm always happy to share my knowledge with people. So yeah, happy to be here.
Happy to be here. That's good. That's good. Oh no, honestly, we should talk about how we first met. Really, so I was trying to think the other day about it because we shot. We've only really shot once, really, haven't we? That was your Jubilee cosplay from the X-Men, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And do you know how we came together? Shall we say how we met?
I actually don't remember. I think probably from Comic-Con, from MCM, from like seeing.
Oh no! We have a mutual friend.
Oh, Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now. Oh, cool.
Yeah. She just dropped me a message, and because was there a specific reason why you wanted your Jubilee photos to be taken by someone?
Yeah, I mean, I love photo shoots, so I'm always looking for people to collaborate and do photo shoots and take pictures with, and I think it's a great way of spending your day, really. So
100%. I mean, but is there something about the character Jubilee herself that you relate to? You are you a fan of her as a character?
Well, yeah, I used to watch X-Men, the animation, when I was a kid. I used to watch a lot of cartoons and a lot of American stuff back when I was, a kid, really. And I just really liked the design of Jubilee, and she was like best friends with Wolverine, but she was still a kid. And I don't know, maybe it was like, still being a kid, but thinking one day I'll be a woman, and then maybe I can meet a Wolverine and be a sidekick or something.
No, that's absolutely cool. Have you met a Wolverine yet? That to complement your Jubilee cosplay yet?
I went, no Wolverine, no. But
Oh,
I've got my partner who's my model for everything. So yes, that's all right.
just secretly dress him up as Wolverine, and then just surprise it on him. I'm sure it'll go well. I'm sure it'll go well. I mean, you must. I think we look. Listen, let's face it. As a fan of X-Men, I bet you
Yeah.
enjoyed that X-Men theme tune, that electric guitar when that first riff hits. Oh, but you're beaming ear to ear with a smile.
Absolutely. I just go with it.
Yeah.
You know. Na-na-na-na, dun-dun-dun.
Oh, honestly, I think it's the most recognizable theme tune from the 90s. And not all,
Yeah,
not everything in the 90s was great, but that theme tune was. Mwah,
that was really good. Like all of them, honestly. Like I watched absolutely everything. Like
mm,
X-Men, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Conan.
mm.
Conan. That's like who I know. I don't think I've met a lot of people that actually watch the cartoons,
I'm
but
just,
it was so
yeah, I'm trying to work out the Conan cartoon. I don't think I remember watching that one. I remember like watching like Defenders of the Earth,
yes,
um,
yes.
Thundercats.
Oh
Oh,
my god!
I just saw on my phone just a moment ago. Centurions, just a little clip of it, and I went, "Oh my god, Power Extreme!" I love those type of shows. They're really
Yeah,
crappy 80s, 90s like Transformers. Are huge fan of
they're
those.
great.
Absolutely
Street
brilliant.
Sharks. Have you ever watched Street Sharks?
I know of it, but I never watched it.
Oh
Was it
wow!
Biker Mice from Mars? Oh, what was it? Oh, what's the one with the cat? Is it Tomcats? There were two cats that were ejected out of the airplane crew thing, and they worked on a junkyard, and they was able to, as punishment that is, because they were framed for something, but they were
Wow!
able to build a plane and then became like heroes with an aeroplane, and it's so
Wow.
stupid, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Oh,
I actually don't know that one.
oh
Oh
my god!
wow!
I'm sure it's called Tomcats, but I'll look it up and I'm sure someone is yelling at me through the podcast, going, "It's this! It's this!" Anyway, we're not here to talk about cartoons.
Yeah, yeah.
Although we could just change subject and just talk about
We
cartoons.
could just talk about it. Yeah.
Have an idea. We'll do that in the podcast section. We'll talk about 90s cartoons. But anyway, we're not we're here to talk about prosthetic because, like I mentioned, I saw you at MCM London, and I just thought I love your work with prosthetic. We're going to mention about your book throughout the whole podcast. Um,
Cool.
I kind of want to know. Well, actually, before we do that, I wanted something that's always bugged me, but I always like to
Mm.
know how people come with their names. So where did Chirac Cosplay come from? Where did you get that name?
Right. So, Chirac. So basically, the cosplayer name is Chirac. So the whole Chirac cosplay started happening later when Instagram started being a thing. So you had to add cosplay to your name
Mm,
so people would know it's a cosplay account. So my cosplayer name is just Chirac. But I don't really mind because I mean, it's the social media
mm,
era now, isn't it? So when I was growing up, my brother, one of my brothers, he was really into D&D and Dungeons and Dragons
mm,
and Dragonlance and Lord of the Rings and everything. So I grew up with that kind of stuff. And he had all these books. He had an entire collection of these books called Dragonlance,
mm,
and I was like, all right, I want to start reading these. And I started reading them, and it's like, epic fantasy, like Lord of the Rings with like wizards and dragons and, elves and dwarfs and all that. And it was absolutely amazing. I became a really huge fan. And there's like a um, neutral, chaotic wizard in the books. He's called Raisling, and he was my favorite character. I absolutely love him. And one day, I don't know when, but one day I will cosplay him. But no one's gonna know who that is anyway. Anyway, um, he's an amazing character. He's so well written, and he's got a staff, so like a cane with a dragon's hand at the end, holding like an orb or a crystal. And one of these spells that he uses to make that crystal glow, so it's like a light spell, is Chirac.
ah,
Yeah, so he says that throughout the books a few times. So Chirac is the command for light.
ah,
Yeah,
ah. Are you a huge D&D fan? Do you still play it now?
I used to play a lot, but then because I was born in Spain, so I lived there, and then I moved to UK, and I just didn't meet anyone that was interested in that kind
Mm,
of stuff. So I played again later on,
yeah.
but I used to be like a huge like D&D sort of gamer. I used to be a dungeon master and everything. So I used to make my own games, and I used to like, you know, do the layout of my books for my adventures, and I used to design the characters, or like, yeah, full on. Yeah, I was really full on that.
I can hear you really enjoyed doing the D&D stuff, and it's something that you still hold close to your heart. So that's good. That's good to know. I guess good to hear.
Mm,
So let's get into talking about prosthetics and things like that, because I will admit I know nothing about prosthetic, um, but I've seen like cosplayers start to incorporate it into their cosplay. Shall we say, skill? If it's a skill tree, it's there now, and I can see it
yeah.
being incorporated into their cosplays. And I you know I just love to know a bit more about it, so that I'm a bit more informed as a photographer. So when I take people's photos, I know how to deal with it, and things like that.
Yeah.
So let's get the important question out of the way, just in case people are going, who's she? Why is she the authority of being talking about prosthetic? So how long have you been involved with prosthetic makeup?
Right. So how long have I been doing prosthetics? So technically, my first prosthetic, it was a Terminator makeup that I did on my brother, and I think that was in 2007. So before I moved to the
Mm,
UK. So I moved to the UK in 2008. And then so I did that on like very quickly. I had no idea of what I was doing. Like no manuals, no books, nothing. I just sort of like thought about, okay, I can do this like sort of paste with some materials, and maybe I can make it into a prosthetic that can go on to my brother's face. To put you in context, I studied fine arts, so I'm a sculptor and I'm a drawer. So I did drawing and sculpture. So I specialized on that. So I sort of knew how to do things,
mm,
but I had no idea about actually proper prosthetics. So I tried to like figure out things. So I actually made those prosthetics out of a type of glue paste that I had at home.
all right.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that that's. I wouldn't do that now, obviously, because you need to be careful about what you put on someone's skin.
100%, yes.
But, it's my brother; he's alright.
Have you checked a pulse on him? Have you checked his skin? He's not reacting to anything recently, or has he got PTSD? Has he? If you start going near him, and go, "Hey, brother," does he start running for the hills?
Well, I mean, we're not very close, so it's all right. It's okay. It's enough that he volunteers. Like, oh, okay, good. You're not too bad then.
Oh,
No,
gosh.
it's all right. He really liked it. Actually, he was like, "Oh, it is my pride
Mm,
for, to be your model for your project." I was like, "Oh, all right, cool, nice." So yeah, that was technically my first prosthetic, and then we could say that the actual first prosthetic I did was in 2008 at
mm,
uni, at Winchester School of Art. That's where I finished my studies. So
yeah.
I studied fine art in Spain for 4 years, and then I did another year in Winchester. And I did a prosthetic because I wanted to do a photography project,
Mm,
and I wanted to do a sort of creature, or like a scary character, like a scary humanoid character that came out of a derelict building, and I did a photo shoot with Polaroids
mm.
actually. So I used to work. I actually got a master's degree in photography, so I used to be a photographer as well.
Oh, what do
Um,
you need me to take your photos then? Oh, good.
so remote controls are expensive. That's why. Yeah, I'm joking. So yeah, so it was basically like a conduit to do a different type of artwork.
Mm,
So the prosthetics served the purpose of having an aesthetic for the photography
mm,
job. So that was that. And then I was like, actually, I like this, and I was like, wait, I'm a cosplayer. I can do things with this,
Mm.
and I bought a book. I found a book in Forbidden Planet in London.
Yeah.
Because again, I was living in Winchester, so like, but I used to come to up to London like once a month, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously Forbidden Planet and all of that, and I found a book that was made by a Japanese prosthetics makeup artist, and he had a studio. He's I think he's still got the studio in Japan.
All right.
Anyway, I bought it. It was very cheap. It looked really interesting. It's quite basic. It's quite basic, but not in a bad way, like in a good way, like
Yeah.
the essentials.
Yeah. It got you like get you going and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was very useful because I had no idea. I had no idea about anything. I mean, you watch films and you see creatures, and you know that those things are made, and someone's got a job doing that kind of stuff. But you never know that could be you. You don't have that notion of,
Mm.
oh, this is an actual career that you can learn, and then you can become a professional. So you had no idea about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, especially back then. I mean, now it's everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's that's what I'm saying. It's good to see that different cosplayers pick different skills to incorporate into their cosplay lives. Some, like you say, go down the prosthetic route. Some go with like using Warbler. Some go with like
Mm,
3D printing, things like that. Um,
yeah.
so you were saying this was part of your uni course and things like that. So is that the reason you got into prosthetic makeup, because of you like the surreal monster like thing, or was it something else that got you into this prosthetic makeup? I know you probably mentioned that this book that you
Mm.
was there anything more to that, or or was that the only reason you got into prosthetic?
I think it was just more. It was very organic.
Mm.
It was very organic because I've been a cosplayer since 2001, so it's been a long
Oh
time.
wow.
And I've been drawing my entire life, so I've been doing art stuff my entire life, and then I wanted to become a forensic doctor, um, because I love anatomy, but I didn't want to deal with a live patients. So, and then I thought I don't really want to do math because you had to do math to do that. I was like, I'll do fine art because I'm good at it, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Um, so um, it's just conveyed into special effects naturally because I was very drawn to films,
Mm,
and again I was doing cosplay, which has got a lot to do with sequential art, I think.
mm,
So for me is cosplay is like character design that also happens in films is sequential, so it's related to comics because you get the storyboarding, which is a comic, right?
mm,
um so it's all, yeah, it was very organic, and it just happened because out of necessity to portray my favorite characters as a cosplayer. So my first prosthetic as a cosplayer that I made was Teen Wolf. It was Michael J. Fox Teen
I
Wolf.
know that film. I love that film.
It's a
It was,
great film.
yeah. It's definitely a film of its era, though. I don't know if you can make that film. Oh no, they made I'm sure they actually made a rebooted
Yeah,
TV series of that recently.
they did. I haven't watched it. I don't
I
think
yeah,
I want to.
no, I agree. I think it's something. I think we're so nostalgic of that film. It's like if you watch it, they've done it that way. Oh no, 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 no.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, they made Teen Wolf 2,
Oh God, yeah, that does ring a bell. Actually, again, I don't think I've seen the sequel. Have you seen?
Yeah, it's the guy. I've seen it actually. I saw it's the guy. I can't remember the name, but it's this very well, famous actor. He did, what's his name?
Let me Google it for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
You know him. Yeah,
yeah,
you'd be like, oh right, yeah.
Teen Wolf 2.
Two.
What's this?
It's not a great film though.
Oh God, I don't. Who is that? Oh, Jason Bateman.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
That does not. Oh my God. Okay, that's new. Okay.
yeah. There you go. That's your film for tonight.
Straight after this podcast, I'm going straight and watch that film.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
dear. Okay. All right. That's. I mean, it's quite interesting how for you prosthetic was a natural way going from your art degree, your art passion into prosthetics,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you said, you use it for your cosplay. So what came first? So as this is a cosplay podcast, what came
Mm-hmm.
first for you then? Between cosplay and prosthetic, and then did one help with the other and vice versa, or do you think the way you did it, as in if you did do cosplay first, prosthetic helped you get you there, or vice versa?
So it was definitely cosplay first
Mm,
because well, as I mentioned, like I started cosplaying since 2001.
yeah.
It actually was 2000 actually because I did cosplay Scully from the X Files for
Ah!
Halloween, but it doesn't. Yeah, I know. I don't really count it as the first. It's
Mm,
actually the actual first cosplay I've ever made. I don't think I've talked about this or I've written this down
yeah.
anywhere. So this is the first time, Eddie.
Oh.
I'm revealing these details. But yeah, but I count my first cosplay, the first cosplay I took to a convention,
Mm. Ah, okay.
which was in 2001.
Yeah.
And it was a convention in Spain. So again, like first cosplay, my mom helped me obviously
Mm.
because that's how. Well, I don't know if that's how people get started nowadays, but back in the day, yes, that's how we started. Um, and I don't know, it wasn't a thing. I think back then, like people would do like makeups with just like 2D makeups, like actual,
Mm.
normal makeup without doing prosthetics and things like that. The same way the people did armor without, you know, the foam clay or
Yeah,
foam
it's
or
very
things like that.
very flat details, not very
Yeah.
three-dimensional. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
So yeah, so the first came the cosplay, but um related to prosthetics as well. Also, it was first the cosplay because it was for Teen Wolf that I started doing prosthetics, and then I did Dracula, which is the cosplay that actually moved me into the industry. So it was first the cosplay, and then the prosthetic sort of path. Let's say that.
Yeah, no, that's quite cool. Do you think that's the best way to do it? Is be the cosplay first and then prosthetics, or it doesn't really matter if you got into prosthetics first and then you became, you think, oh, do you know what, I could use this in my cosplay.
Yeah. I think it really depends on the person. If you are a cosplayer, um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can be a cosplayer first, and then
Mm,
if the character you choose and you like requires something like a prosthetic or it will enhance the character, yeah,
mm,
go for it. There's a lot of colleagues that they don't know what cosplay is or they don't really or they've never done it. But I do think that cosplay is an advantage into getting into this type of work, let's say.
mm,
Like I know a lot of prop makers that they started as a cosplayer, and because of all the materials that you used to use and things like that, they can put that knowledge into the job
mm,
once they become professional prop makers,
yeah.
and things like that. So yeah, I mean if you are a cosplayer, then yeah, just first of all have fun, enjoy what you do, enjoy the characters you like, and then if that will bring something to your character, absolutely go and learn some prosthetics and let's see what happens.
Oh no, that's really good to hear that. You know, it could be one or the other, and like you said, it's a personal trait or a personal attribute if they think they should do this first or that first to do what they want to do. That's good. Um, you mentioned earlier that you got into it, by getting a book. You wanted to, to get into it. So, what for you? If you were like giving this advice to yourself 20 years ago, sorry to mention your
Mhm.
your age,
It's all right.
but I mean, was that the best? Is that the best way to go about it? Is to start. What is the best way now that you know what you know? Is it do you do you need to have a brother that you could hijack his face and stick stick things on it? What you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, what
um
is the best way? Is it? And yeah, go for it.
so knowing what I know right now, I would say a lot of things actually. So I would say there's a lot of courses at uni that are good,
Mm,
but there's a lot of courses at uni that are really bad.
mm,
I've taught at uni, so I know what I'm talking about. So for anything that is that specializes in prosthetics, right,
mm,
and special makeup effects. There's some courses, they're not university related, but they're like they're run by professionals from the industry. They've been in the industry for like 30, 40 years.
mm,
So they know everything, right? So they're like the highest renowned
mm.
um, professionals in the world. That's it. One of them is Neil Gorton. He was one of my mentors, and he runs some courses. I don't know exactly now what courses they've got, but they do some master's degrees, and they do like summer camps or like boot camps, like 1 week, like intensive teaching you like the basics of the basics,
Oh, okay.
um, things like that. There's another school in LA, but that's
Yeah.
it'd be very expensive to do.
Oh no.
So
What was that teacher that you mentioned? What was his name? Neil.
Neil Gorton. So Neil Gorton is one of the let's say like he's one of the best special makeup effects and prosthetics artists in the UK.
Mm.
So for example, do you know this drag queen? I think it's a drag queen. It's a drag persona anyways. Alexis Stone.
Not that I'm aware. I'm not.
You know?
Yeah. But
So this person is very famous within like the drag community and the glam community and things like that.
mm,
And they've been portraying a lot of characters, like hyper realistic characters with prosthetics. Those prosthetics are made by Neil Gorton and his studio.
oh
So,
yeah. No.
for example, it's that.
Yeah. I've just found his Instagram account, and they are absolutely. Yeah. I can see why you would go to this person for it. It sounds
Mm.
quite an expensive skill or hobby to acquire. Is it expensive to learn, or is there like an easier way, a cheaper way to acquire these skills?
So I would say there's cheaper ways. Yeah, I would recommend to not look at things on YouTube. For example, they're all the wrong things are there.
Oh,
So
that's interesting advice. I would have thought that'd be the best place to like
no.
get some advice.
You get a lot of like zip face that we call it. So like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah. So no, please don't do that. Things like the can of Coke embedded on your skull. It's like,
Mm,
first of all, that wouldn't happen in real life because your skull is really hard.
yeah.
So something as thin as a can wouldn't go through it. Um, but I would say um coming into my field and into what I do, I actually have released a book for beginners and cosplayers.
Mm,
So in my book, I explained all the details and all the essentials and all the basics and all the tricks as well for beginners.
mm,
Is I know I'm saying beginners and cosplayers. It's also for like seasoned artists, I think, because I explain how to paint different skin tones
okay.
in special effects makeup books or manuals that are out there around the world. There's nothing like that.
Oh,
There's
okay.
always like one type of skin tone in those books, two at the most. So there was a gap there in the learning process and in in material and manuals out there. There was a gap that I wanted to help reduce. So um yeah, so I created that book with that in mind, and also, I just wanted to share my knowledge for cosplayers that wanted to get into that. They were a bit scared about,
Mm,
they didn't know how to start with, how to make things, what materials to use, what are the actual proper materials to use, what not to use. Like latex is a big no because latex is not gonna mimic skin properly, for example. All those things that you would never know or you would have never thought about if you were not into that world.
mm.
All of that is in that book. So the way I pitch it to people is like, well, you could buy my book for 36 quid, or you could spend 9 grand at uni learning the same or less. But yeah,
I love your pitching. I love how you pitch this idea. One or the other. Mine's a little bit cheaper. I
yeah,
like that. I like that.
yeah. We're gonna save more than 8 grand.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
No, that's good. No, that's good. Um, it's quite interesting to hear you saying that don't use latex prosthetic. That's quite interesting again because I assumed that latex prosthetic would be the way to go, but probably you're probably talking about what I'm now thinking is probably silicon based prosthetics. That's probably the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Ah,
there's some materials. So actually, you could also use gelatin to make prosthetics. I don't use gelatin because of several reasons. So gelatin is an animal-based
mm.
product, right? So I'm a vegetarian and I don't want to use that
But that's fine. Yeah,
material.
don't understand that. Don't understand that. Okay. Can I just ask why not
Yeah.
use latex based prosthetic makeup?
So well, latex is opaque. So latex, first of all, a lot of people are allergic to it.
Mm,
Also it's opaque, so when it cools, it's opaque. You can't see through. Skin layers, so like everyone's skin, regardless of skin tone,
mm,
everyone's skin is transparent. Yeah. So when light goes onto it, it bounces. So it goes through the layers of skin
mm,
and it bounces through the pores and everything differently, right? Depending on the light and how the light is and how much light and all of that. Um, Latex doesn't do that. So is completely opaque. It shrinks. So if you were going to do a prosthetic piece that's going to cover your forehead,
yeah.
it's probably going to cover a bit of your forehead, not the whole forehead.
Ah,
Let's
okay.
say that. Um, it's not very flexible. So like with silicone, you can add other materials to the silicone, like something called deadener. So the silicone becomes softer, so it mimics skin better. So if we do the experiment right now, so if you touch your cheek and move it around,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
it's quite flexible, yeah.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. If you do the same to your nose, it's not flexible at all, is it? It's quite rigid,
Yeah.
right? So if you were to do a nose prosthetic and a cheek prosthetic with latex, it will have that same elasticity, right? So it won't be real. It won't be realistic. It's not going to move
Mm,
very well with your actual face, and it's not going to follow your movements and the flexibility of your muscles, right?
yeah.
If you use a silicone prosthetic with a lot of deadener on the cheek and less deadener on the nose is going to be less flexible. It's going to be realistic as the actual nose, and the cheek is going to follow the movement and the movements of your face, basically.
Mm.
So yeah, those are some of the reasons.
That.
But sorry, yeah.
Oh
So
no, I was just gonna say. I'm fascinated that I've learned something that I think I knew the back of my head use silicon, but I thought I swear I've heard people use latex, but clearly I'm wrong. And
well, you're not entirely wrong. People use foam latex sometimes. That's different.
ah,
Yeah.
and that's different. How?
Right. So it is a combination of different chemicals. So foam latex. So basically, is latex mixed with some gelling agents and foaming agents and other chemicals. Right. They've got very specific names,
Mm,
and it's whisked like really really fast for a certain amount of time,
mm,
and then it's cooked. Right. So basically, what you're making there is it's a sponge of like very fine cells
mm,
within the structure of the sponge. So what you're doing is making let's say a latex sponge, right?
yeah.
So that's different from latex. So shrinkage is lower because it's already been whisked and there's air within. So it depends on the amount of air within the sponge cells.
Yeah.
It shrinks more or less. It will still shrink because latex and water and ammonia and all that. Um, but yeah, those things is a common thing to use. But it depends on what you want it for. It is good for really big pieces. Let's say that you're making, I don't know, a minotaur,
Mm,
right? You need to make the whole head with big horns and everything. If you were to make that with silicone, that's going to flop because silicone is super heavy.
Yeah.
It's not going to hold the shape. You most likely will need a armature inside the silicone to hold the shape. It doesn't transpire. Foam latex does transpire because it's a sponge, right? So it's got cells.
Mm.
So it's like a cell.
So what do you mean by transpire? Before I forget.
Transpire. You cannot sweat through it.
Oh right, okay, gotcha. Yep, yep.
Yeah. So silicone doesn't let people. It doesn't let the skin transpire, right? So it
Oh yes, yeah.
doesn't
Now
let.
I've got it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah. So if it's on you, like you're gonna sweat a lot,
yeah, yeah.
right? So with foam latex, that'd be better, but because it's a sponge, it will absorb
Mm.
the sweat. So, anyways, there's a lot of like disgusting things that happen when you do prosthetics with either silicone or foam latex. But yeah, so latex itself, we don't use it
Yeah, yeah.
really. I mean, latex you could use it for like very specific stuff, for like
Mm.
maybe like very low budget films. It just really, really depends. But as a general thing, you do not use latex for
Yeah,
prosthetics.
yeah.
You will use most likely silicone, sometimes foam latex, and very rarely, I would say very rarely, gelatin, because
Yeah.
well, as I was saying earlier, it's animal based, but also gelatin deforms with heat.
Mm.
So let's say that I make a witch nose and I put it on you. Sometime later, like a few minutes later, because you are an alive
Mm.
being, right? So you exude heat, like warmth. That warmth is going to start deforming the nose.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's a lot of like technical things and secrets and magic
yeah.
that happen.
I was gonna say it sounds a lot more involving than I initially thought. Again, and now that I think about it, I can understand that there's obviously got different types for different scenarios and situations and things like that. So, and which probably leads on to my next question that I've got for you, which is basically, can you make? I mean, is this something that you can make at home? Like these, is there a cheap homemade prosthetic material you can use for cosplayers who just may not have the, shall we say, the
Yeah.
skills or the funds to do that? Or is there a way to go to the shops and buy prosthetic, what was it, silicon parts?
You can do both.
Mm,
You can do absolutely both. The only thing with pre-made prosthetics is a pre-made prosthetic. So it has to be something very, very generic that you need, like a wound or something like that,
mm.
something that is very specific for your character. Um, it's just very specific. You need to either make a commission to an artist, for like me, for example, wink, wink, um, or you can make it yourself. And another wink there is my book. So yeah, so in the book, I teach you exactly the way I would teach you at uni, right? So I talk about materials in depth. I talk about techniques. I talk about how to make your own flat mold prosthetics, which you can make at home and you can make safely. You don't need expensive equipment. You can save money in certain things. The basics such as silicone, you can't save money on that because silicone is silicone. It's exactly the type of silicone you need,
Mm,
which is platinum silicone, so it's very specific. You cannot use any silicone, and that is expensive. But I mean, you don't need to buy like 10 kilos of silicone. You can buy a kilo, and just
mm,
make small prosthetics that will help. I don't know, like for example, Geralt, the Witcher. You can make those, and you're not going to use up the whole silicone. You will still have silicone for like I don't know, for ages, really.
mm.
So there's absolutely ways of making it affordable, and I talk about that on the book, in the book, and yeah, or you could have things already made from shops, but keeping in mind the people that have those at their shops, like mine, we need to make them. So it's nothing that is pre-made for years. So it's most of the times it's made to order
Mm,
because prosthetics need to be made and then used very soon. Like they cannot be stored for years because some elements that the prosthetics got, like something called cap plastic, it will harden with time. So yeah, some things to consider there. But I think I mean, we are cosplayers, or we are artists. So I think people will get a lot of satisfaction from making it themselves, and that's part of being a cosplayer, isn't it? Like we like
Mm.
the artistry of it, I think.
No, again, it's fascinating to hear all about this. Like I said, a lot of this is new to me. My eyes are are wider to the prosthetic artwork, really, to
Mm.
this. I just again, just hearing you talk about prosthetic. Do you think prosthetic when you first started has evolved a lot to now, or in a sense, the techniques, the material that you use has kind of stayed the same throughout,
Mm.
since the beginning of time, shall we say?
Well, since I started, no, not that much. But I mean, prosthetics itself is evolved a lot. So when the people started using it, like in the late uh 19th century, for the first films and things like that, it was all, I don't know. I don't even know what they used. They used like some sort of like paste on the face and
Mm,
things like that. And then throughout the years, and then towards the 30s and things like that, they started using latex. So it's been used, obviously,
yeah.
and but it evolved to be foam latex, and after that, it evolved to be gelatin, and then it evolved to be silicone, and now silicone is the most like what people use for everything because so similar. It mimics skin so well. But when I started, um, the actual technique hasn't changed. What changed was my knowledge. So I did a lot of research, and I started, as I said, like, buying books and things like that. I also had another cosplayer that helped me a lot because she worked in the film industry already, and she had made prosthetics, so she helped me a lot with. She told me what to look, right. And that's something I'm always going to be very grateful to her.
Mm,
So she would say, like, you need to look at this person, you need to look at this course over here, you need to get these materials, get this book, read this book, get these DVDs. I used to buy DVDs as well. They were like courses from Neil Gorton.
mm.
So I got all of that, and I was just studying at home. Um, and yeah, so what evolved was, my knowledge and practice, and that's something that, I mean, you get with anything really. The more you practice, the better you get at things, and the more you know, and the more you know, the more you know that you don't know anything.
Mm,
So you need to learn more and more and more. But what is true now that within the prosthetics world, something has changed now. There's a lot of people 3D printing molds.
mm.
So live casting, we
Oh
don't.
yeah.
Yeah. So things like usually you would, like do a cast to someone's face, as in with Arginet, and then you make a rigid jacket outside and all of that, and then you make a positive or a plaster.
Mm,
That's changing now. People get scanned, so you can get someone scanned and then just 3D print the cast, so you don't have to even use plaster. So things like that are changing. Then people are making actual molds for actual prosthetics
mm.
on the computer, and they're 3D printing it, and they make prosthetics out of that. So things are getting even more accurate now.
That
So yeah, it's
yes.
scary.
No, that's absolutely fascinating to hear that it's not the material itself that's evolving, it's the technique. And the same thing that could be said about photography. And like I said, the last episode I dropped was about generative AI, and we were talking about how
Mm,
the way that people edit photos has evolved through time, but the actual taking photo itself, in a sense, hasn't changed. But it's the way you post process those photos that has changed.
yeah.
And again, it's fascinating to hear you talk like this. Um, we were talking about the application of prosthetics on you. So I'm assuming there is a correct way to purchase and handle and apply these prosthetic to you, because I'm assuming some of these could go near or over the eyes, or open orifices of your body and things like that. Can it be? is it safe thing to do? I mean, like you said, I can only imagine. I get it because what was it? So I watch a lot of Star Trek,
Yeah.
and there's one actor, Andrew Robinson, who does Garrick, and I just remember, was it Garrick? No, was it Andrew Robinson? Basically, his character was a Cardassian species, and I remember one of them saying that one of the Cardassian actors um, said that the way they put the prosthetics over their head, it felt very claustrophobic, very
Mm.
tightening. Honestly, it took a while for them to get used to it or to push through it. So, is there a is there a correct way of doing it? Is there a way that you should tell yourself, say, "Oh, this is not right, and I probably should stop what I'm doing before it goes
Yeah.
too far"? I mean, is there any tips that you could give for that?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Oh, loads of that. So I would say health and safety first,
Mm,
especially when we do this kind of stuff, and especially if you are gluing prosthetics on the face and over, not over, but above the eye. Um, Things to make to take into account is your model, or if you're doing it on yourself. So do a test, like a patch test first.
mm.
People are allergic to things, right? So if you're allergic to latex, obviously don't use foam latex. Use silicone. I don't think anyone is or people can be allergic to silicone. I haven't heard of that, but you never know. Like people are
Mm.
evolving as well. So people are developing new allergens and things like that. I think don't quote me too much on this, but I think the Suicide Squad won the best Oscar for makeup.
Oh, did they?
Yes, the first one.
Oh,
And I think it was because the guy who played the crocodile
oh
guy,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I've read this somewhere. I need to like double research this, but
Mm.
I think I read somewhere that he was allergic to every single type of prosthetics glue they had.
Ah.
And they had to develop something new just for him, which is like absolutely completely rare.
Mm,
Like prosthetics glues are made out of stuff that is like silicone based basically,
mm.
which is not glues for silicone. So it's prosthetics glue.
Yeah,
So it's a bit different. So I would say just be super careful with the things you use. Make sure that you're using the right thing for the right purpose.
yeah.
Because yeah, I had someone buying some prosthetics from me on Etsy, and then to send me a message being like, "Oh, can I use this silicone glue?" And I was like, "No, you cannot. That is silly. That is silicone glue for called silicone. Like, please do not put that on your skin."
Mm.
Um, so yeah, be super careful about things you use. Like, always follow the data sheets, the
The instructions.
yeah, instructions, and then for every material and chemical, there's something called MDS, I think. So it's data sheet.
Mm,
Anyway, they've got it. All of them got it. So it tells you like precautions, warnings, things like I don't know, shrinkage of the material if it's got any like durability of the material. That kind of like technical sheet, basically.
mm.
Um, Things like that. Things like if you're doing something on a model, your model is your priority. So if the model feels unwell or feels claustrophobic
Yeah.
or things like that, the life of that person is priority. So stop immediately, and um, if you need to lose your prosthetic and put it in the bin, you have to.
Oh,
Yeah,
so you definitely would not try to rescue it. You just go, no, if it doesn't work, just pick it up, put it in the bin, and then try
yeah.
something. Oh, okay, there. No, that's good.
I would get a different model, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Yeah,
No, that's no. It's really interesting that it's very good that you're very safety conscious, and that that it is of the highest priority, and which is of course it is. That's what else would you do? And yeah, you're
yeah.
totally right.
There's there's things like there's so many things I could be talking about this because again, like because I've been at uni, I've been teaching at uni as well, so I've seen
Mm,
things and you hear things and you see things in the newspaper. So when I was studying at Winchester School of Art, I remember reading in the newspaper that someone at some university in southern England,
mm,
um, this girl she wanted to cast her hands, and what she did, she put her hands in a bucket of plaster and waited until the plaster went rock solid.
no.
Yeah, she did. She lost. Can I say this? If not, you can crop it. She lost 8 fingers.
Oh,
Yeah. So because no one supervised her, I'm pretty sure the teacher told them not to do that. But if you're a student and you're young, you're like 18 or 20, you're
yeah.
still a kid.
You think you're
Um,
invincible at that age, yeah.
yeah, or you don't just you don't take notes, or you don't hear what the teacher's
Mm,
saying, and then you think that this is right, right? So never, ever, ever, ever put plaster on anyone's skin.
yeah,
Never, never. So when you cast a body part, it's always silicone or arginate, and then on top of that, it will be mud rock.
yeah, yeah.
But that's not to touch the skin ever.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's just change the question a little bit. If I was a
yeah,
beginner cosplayer and I was trying to get into prosthetic,
yeah,
what's the easiest thing I could do in the safest way? I mean, I've seen I've watched like MythBusters and things like that, and they've done
yeah,
like full on head prosthetic casting. Obviously, you would not ask a cosplayer to do that at the first attempt.
yeah,
So, what would be a nice simple one for any cosplayer to do
yeah,
to start getting into it, so that they do it safely and start understanding the nature of
yeah.
silicon prosthetics or any prosthetic really.
Again, it really depends on the character. So that's a bit I guess it's a bit of a broad field
Mm,
here. So let's say I don't know, easy some horns. Yeah,
yeah,
so there's a lot of characters with like tiny horns, like anime characters and things
yeah.
like that. The easiest thing to do would be, or the most straightforward thing to do would be buying my book. Um, yeah, obviously,
Obviously.
because I teach how to make horns actually. Um, so it would be like getting a manual, like my book, for example, and then sculpting it yourself and making a mold out of it and making a prosthetic in silicone,
Mm,
depending on the size of the horn. If it's like it was like an anime horn, there's like I don't know 2 or 3 inches big. That's fine. You can do that in silicone. It's
mm,
not going to fall off or anything. Um, that will be the most straightforward thing to do with good um professional looking results. Let's say that. With professional looking, I mean, invisible edges. Like it blends really well with the skin, so you don't really see any edges or anything. Like Halloween prosthetics you buy off the shop, that kind of stuff. As in, like fancy dress. That's
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Um, or there's other things that you could give a try. There's something called Sculpt Gel, which is essentially platinum silicone. So it's 2 parts. So you get part A and part B, and you mix the same amount of each part. So let's say I don't know, a teaspoon of A and a teaspoon of B,
Mm,
and you mix it very well. So that's the silicone that is starting to cure, right? So once it's mixed very well, that starts doing the chemical reaction of curing, which is solidifying.
mm,
That's what that means. And you could do basic wounds with that directly onto the skin. So you don't need to sculpt anything. You don't need to make a mold out of anything. You directly apply it with a spatula or with a brush or something,
mm,
and you can make basic, um, easy shapes and things like that. So that would be something you could give it a try first, and if you like it, then you can take the next step and make your own prosthetics. Yeah, I think that would be a good choice.
No, that's good. Like I said, I mean, we talk about all these things. We probably haven't really mentioned about how to actually start getting into it. If you go, oh, I'd like to give that a try and things like that. And as much as we said some scary things just earlier, I'm assuming it's a fun skill to learn. It's something great to incorporate into your cosplays and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all with if you start making it with common sense, like we all as cosplayers we use sewing machines. We know that we shouldn't put our hand under the needle,
Mm,
right? Same with this. So it's like, well, this is a not safe material to put on skin. Just don't put it on your skin.
mm,
That's fine. But yeah, no, is I love it.
yeah,
I love it. I mean, I'll do it as a hobby. I do it as a job
yeah, yeah.
as well. So like it is in my life 24/7. So yeah, I absolutely love it, and it's an amazing
Yeah.
skill to do either as a hobby or either as something else.
Mm.
You know, I think it makes cosplays well, it enhances a cosplay. I think it
Yeah.
just adds
Adds more
a
adds
touch,
more
you
depth
know?
to it. Yeah, more
Yes,
realism to it.
like an extra a touch extra. There's like, oh, that's so cool.
Mm.
And when you take pictures of that, because again, light bounces on silicone very similarly as it does on skin,
Mm.
is very realistic.
Yeah.
So it looks amazing on pictures. So it looks, if you were to do like a, I don't know, like for example, Kenshin, the anime character, the X scar that he's got on his cheek. If you do that with like 2D painting,
Mm.
yeah, that's great. If you do that with 3D stuff as a prosthetic, that will like blow your mind because you get the pores, you get the texture, the skin, like light. If you do like a dramatic lighting, it will bounce and you will see like the depth of the scar and things like that. It's just it adds extra layers to things,
Mm.
especially for cosplay, I think.
No, that's good. I'm really glad to hear the passion in your voice about this,
Mhm.
and that's why I'm glad I have you on the podcast to say, because like you said, prosthetic is part of you now. It's you live and breathe it 24/7. I didn't want to touch on this too much, but I mean, literally, prosthetic makeup is now your professional career, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you really can't escape it, even if you tried.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, because it's what paid the bills. So
And as am I mistaken? You've got a book as well. Sorry, I don't know if you mentioned it any time in the
yeah, I mean, I don't really like talking about it, but yeah, I do.
What utter bullshit! I love that. I love that. We're dangerously running out of time on the podcast, so I just want to leave it and I always do this kind of type of question at the end of a podcast like this. If you were talking to a cosplayer, and I'm sure you've done this many times, but if you're talking to a cosplayer and they said, "Oh, I want to get into it and incorporate prosthetic too," and I know you said it depends on the specifics and things like that, but if they want to do this into their cosplay, or we just mentioned that you're doing this as a career, where's the best place to start? What's a good thing to get into besides buying your book? We already know that one. Let's put that to one side.
That's my answer. Oh no. I would say, do you know what? The best way to start, just ask someone, I don't know, ask me or ask some prosthetics makeup artist that you like, and ask them, be like, can you recommend a book or can you recommend a course? Things like that, because don't be scared about asking people and sending a message. Like sometimes people don't see the message, so that's fine to get discouraged.
Mm,
I don't think you've been ghosted or anything, but no, just ask away. Honestly, it's not the prosthetics is not a secret. This is not a I don't know. It's not a limited club. Is a profession a lot of professionals know about. It's a hobby for people as well, and the knowledge is out there. So yeah, so don't be afraid to
yeah.
ask away. And if you're thinking about studying it, really research the place where you are looking at. So I would recommend to do specialized courses rather than generic makeup courses at uni or things like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, I'm gonna put into the podcast description Neil Gorton, because like I didn't realize because he seems to have done he's part of Red Dwarf. He does the makeup for the Crichton character.
Oh yeah, yeah. He did all of that. He did Doctor Who. So like, he's one of the main designers in the UK and in the world, really. Like he's done everything.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. So he's definitely a good resource to rely on and things like that. Let's talk about your book very not saying very briefly, but let's talk about your book. Where can they get it? Where can they buy it? And what does it contain?
Right. So my book is available on my website. It is available on my Etsy shop, which is BBSFX, and it is available internationally, so I can send it anywhere in the world. I also have some retailers throughout the UK. There's a new retailer in the Czech Republic, is the guys of Cosplay Emporium. So they are the official first European retailers of my book. So if you are around there, you can buy it there. And also, there's a retailer in Spain as well, in Madrid, and the retailer is called Ferroca. So yeah, you can buy it from all of those retailers and things like that. I've got it on Amazon as well, but I will say don't buy it from Amazon because they take a big chunk of the money of it. So I don't, yeah, I get like half of it. So it's like, no, just buy from me or my retailers, and
Yeah.
it'd be a fair pay.
No, absolutely no. I totally understand that, and that's great.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add before we close off the podcast?
Yes. So, a couple of things. So, also, you mentioned. So, what does the book have? So, as I said, like essentials about how to design your prosthetics, sculpt your prosthetics, make your prosthetics, apply your prosthetics, and paint them on different skin tones. So, there's a variety of skin tones. So, it's a book for everyone. Um, a lot of books out there, they're not very welcoming. Let's say that. Let's just say that they don't have a lot of um, a range of different models. We can say that. So I try to help with that with my book, and yeah, I would say people keep doing cosplay. Add prosthetics to it if you like. Give it a try. See if you like doing it. If you like doing it, keep practicing, keep practicing. If you don't like doing it, that's absolutely fine. You are still a cosplayer. We're all cosplayers. We all enjoy this hobby, and it's an amazing, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful hobby. And yeah, I'm very glad to be in the podcast. Like, I had a lot of fun.
I'm glad you had fun. I'm really glad. Just one more thing before I just disappear. Before we disappear, is it better to do prosthetic with someone so that you can both help each other? Like you said, you can both be either models for each other, or you can actually, like you said, you're testing something on someone, and from an outside you can see, oh, this works with that. Or is it? Can you do it on yourself as well? Do you get what I'm saying? Is it easier to
Yeah,
do it with someone, or can you do it with a mirror on yourself? What do you think is the best approach, or either is good?
either is valid. I would say, like, you can do it by yourself. That's how I did it. Um, and that's absolutely fine. There's also advantages of doing it with someone else. So again, you can model for each other. You can, maybe one of you, your strongest points is sculpting. Maybe the other person's strongest point is actually the actual painting on the skin. So you can complement each other's skills. So yeah, I would say try all of it. Just try, solo, together, everything.
Yeah, and a stupid question. Can you pay someone? Can you hire someone to make the prosthetics for you, like silicone molds and things? Or is it best practice to make it yourself so it fits your body, skin better?
Yeah. You can hire someone. Most likely, the person available to do that will be an actual professional. It's not going to be cheap.
Mm,
Um, because it's labor, is hours of research, hours studying, your actual skills plus materials and all of that. I would say it is best to do it if you're starting doing this, yeah,
mm,
it's just best to do it on your own or by yourself or with your friend.
yeah.
If you have the budget, yeah, go for it. Hire me. I'm always looking for work. So yeah.
On that note, let's bring the podcast to a close. I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad we were able to talk about something that's so passionate in your life. I can hear it in your voice, the way you talk and things like that. It's absolutely brilliant. BB, if people need to find you on the social medias, they want to ask you maybe further questions, for advice, or go buy your book. Where can they find you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. Instagram for my prosthetics work is BBSFX. And I've also got a cosplay Instagram account, which is Chirac Cosplay. And that's it. I'm not on Facebook. So, yeah, I think I've got like a Facebook profile somewhere. I don't know. That's just.
Let's.
I'm not on
Oh, don't worry.
Facebook.
I'll put your Etsy, your Instagram. Do you have Twitter?
I don't. I do, but I never use it. So it's Chirac Cosplay again. So it's Chirac_cosplay, I think. But I never use it. So I'm not a social media person.
Jesus. No, I know what you mean. Social media is really hard. It's really, really hard. If anyone needs to find me on the social medias, if you go to foodandcosplay.org/links, that's where you'll find all my social media links. Don't forget I'm on Threads as well, Instagram, Twitter, most of the major ones. If you go to foodandcosplay.org generally, you'll find my my portfolio of cosplay photos that I've been uploading for many years now, articles I've written over the years, past podcasts, everything. It's all there. Talking about podcasts, if you go to foodandcosplay.org/podcasts, you'll find all my previously recorded podcasts, over different subjects, different 101s type of things. So it's, I hope you enjoy listening to those. Go listen to my back catalogue. Don't forget to subscribe to them. It's always good to hear when people subscribe to my podcast. If you go to patreon.com/foodandcosplay, you'll hear podcast extras that I've been doing with my guests over the last few months, and I'm gonna take Chirac BB over to the podcast section. We're gonna be talking about 90s, nostalgic cartoons. We're gonna talk about a bit more about prosthetics, hopefully, and hopefully you'll join us on there. So I mean, there's nothing more for me to say besides BB, thank you very much for being on the podcast. Let's do this again somehow. I don't know what we can do together, but let's try to do this again if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, please.
Excellent. And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and BB's going to say goodbye now. So bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right.